Hi, in this presentation we'll be talking about the Unit 3 content, Ethos, Pathos, and Logos. So the question that you should be able to answer after this super quick presentation is, what are Ethos, Pathos, and Logos, and how are they used? And the terms that you should know are Ethos, Pathos, and Logos. So what are these things that I keep saying? So ethos, pathos, and logos are three different strategies of persuasion that are used to convince audiences. They're sometimes called persuasive techniques, sometimes persuasive strategies, but essentially these are elements of persuasion that have been used for thousands of years to persuade people or convince them. As good critical thinkers, you should be able to identify these when you see them in arguments or advertisements, but you should also be able to know when and how to use them in your own writing. So we'll look at an example of each one. So ethos is a persuasive argument that is based on character or authority. So ads that use ethos or arguments that use ethos rely on someone's credibility or reputation. Often advertisements use celebrities because we trust that Julia Roberts knows something valuable about makeup. So we trust her to be an expert. People who appear in uniform, doctors or police officers, are relying on the ethos persuasive technique to convince the audience that what they have to say has merit. They're experts in their field. So that would be an argument based on ethos. Anything that requires you to believe in the reputation or the credibility of the people who are making the argument. Pathos uses emotions to try and change your mind. It's an argumentative technique that relies on any of the emotions out there. It can be fear or desire or empathy or sadness or hunger, any kind of an ad or an argument that makes you feel a specific kind of way. If they're playing on your emotions, that is using the persuasive technique of pathos. So often in advertisements you'll see examples of this, but again also in written articles, people who are using very a lot of loaded language or emotive words may be trying to use pathos to convince you to believe them. And finally, the last persuasive technique is logos. Logos is based on logic or facts or figures. So anyone who is trying to use reason, trying to give you explanations or to give you statistics and facts and numbers, they are trying to convince you logically, and that would be the logos persuasive technique. So you can see this oftentimes in advertisements, but again, it's also often used in written articles, texts, and speeches as well. So ethos, pathos, and logos are three different persuasive techniques that are used frequently in advertising, but also in written text and in speeches to persuade the audience to believe whatever it is that the author is saying. So ethos is based on character and authority. Pathos is based on emotion, and logos is based on logic. You should be able to identify these in written texts and in advertisements, and you should also know how to use them when you're writing. So hopefully this answers your questions about this unit, and let me know if you have any additional questions.